welcome to the next Crack a Pack episode. Today we are opening up a pack of Torment. This is not something that I always get to open, so I'm pretty excited about this one. I do believe there are some interesting cards in here, so hopefully we get something cool here. Of course, we're going to look at this from a draft perspective, so we'll see hopefully what our pack one pick one would be. I did not draft during this time, so I don't know really what the archetypes or anything like that are. But I do know, obviously, Threshold is a thing. There are some really cool mechanics, so we'll explore, we'll see what we can get, and hopefully we'll come down to a singular pick that we can all agree upon. Of course, feel free to disagree with me in the comment section below, but this is, of course, my opinion. So let's start off. We have Putrid Imp, a 1/1 for 1 black. Discard a card from your hand, and Putrid Imp gains flying until end of turn. It also has Threshold, so Putrid Imp gets +1/+1 and can't block as long as you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. Threshold was a really good mechanic. I thought you're going to end up with 7 cards in your graveyard, really, at most point. I mean, at some point in the game, that's probably going to happen. So, this is a really special card because it's an enabler. I can speak, I promise, for Threshold, as well as gaining some benefit off of Threshold already. So, I really like this card. It's actually a pretty good 1-drop, so not a bad way to start the pack. But Fiery Temper, excuse me, 1 and 2 red for an instant. It deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and it has Madness of 1 red, so you can play it as you're discarding it for 1 red if you actually are forced to discard this card for any reason. Funny enough, these two cards go really well together. You discard a card to Putrid Imp, that card being Fiery Temper, and then you pay 1 red instead of paying the 3 that you would normally have to pay. So I really like this card. This is absolutely fantastic. It's great removal. It's synergistic with a lot of the stuff in this set, and so for that reason, that's definitely on my radar. Aven Trooper, a 1/1 flyer for 3 and a white. You can pay 2 and a white and discard a card from your hand, and the Trooper gets +1/+2 until end of turn. Unfortunately, although I love the art on this card, it's not really good enough. It's just a lot of an investment for really just a 2/3. You're paying 4 just to get a 1/1 flyer, and then you have to pay an additional 3 and discard a card. It just seems like a lot of investment for a card like this. Yes, there are synergies with the discard, but not really worth it for that. Faceless Butcher, a 2/3 for 2 and 2 black. When it comes into play, remove target creature other than Faceless Butcher from the game. When Faceless Butcher leaves play, return the removed card to play under its owner's control. I actually really like this card. It's pseudo removal. Obviously, it's a creature, so it's going to die pretty easily. I don't know if it's better than Fiery Temper, though, to be honest. I'm going to put it here for now. We'll talk about it if we don't find something better. Nantuko Calmer, so a 2/3 for 2 and 2 green. Pay a green and tap it and sacrifice it to destroy target enchantment. It also has Threshold, and it gets +1/+1 if you're triggering Threshold. This card's fine. It's sideboard tech. Anything that's enchantment based, you're going to want a card like this. It's a body, it's a destroy enchantment effect, and honestly, ideally a 3/4 for 4 isn't too far below curve, so it's actually kind of fine. Still not great as a first pick, I don't think. Aquamoeba, this card is interesting. So 1/3 for 1 and a blue, discard a card from your hand and switch Aquamoeba's power and toughness until end of turn. There are a lot of fun ways to kind of exploit this card if you can buff defense a lot with cheap spells and then just switch them. It's really cool, actually. But that being said, this isn't necessarily great in draft. It's much more of a sort of constructed silly card, but again, fun to play with. Carrion Rats, a 2/1 for 1 black. Whenever it attacks or blocks, any player may remove a card in his or her graveyard from the game. If that player does, this card deals no damage that turn. I don't really like this card. It's definitely powerful for a 1-drop. I think that's fine. And certainly in the early game when there's not much in the graveyard, it's probably going to be pretty easy to swing in for some extra damage, but late game, they just kind of kill it and overpower it because it's only a 2/1. It just dies very easily, so not a huge fan of that one, unfortunately. Barbarian Outcast is a 2/2 for 1 and a red. When you control no swamps, sacrifice Barbarian Outcast. That's a really bad 2/2. It's like a bad bear. If you have no swamps, this just dies immediately. And it still is only a 2/2 for 2, so I'm not a fan of this card really at all. Pay No Heed is 1 white for an instant. Prevent all damage of a source of your choice would deal this turn. This is your classic just kind of fog effect. It's just targeted fog. I'm not a fan of these effects in draft. I don't think they're very good. They really are just stall cards, and ideally you want something a little bit more proactive than this, so for that reason, not really a fan. Rancid Earth, 1 and 2 black for a sorcery, destroy target land. If you have Threshold, instead destroy that land, and Rancid Earth deals 1 damage to each creature and each player. Certainly a powerful card. I think this is fine, but destroying a target land in draft is not great. Unfortunately, there's just not really going to be any major lands that are going to be hopefully threatening you. And so for that reason, I really don't like that card. I just don't think it does that much in draft. Cephalid Snitch is a 1/1 for 1 and a blue. Sacrifice it and target player loses protection. Target creature loses protection from black until end of turn. Holy crap, is that specific? There has to be a card in here that actually works with, but holy crap, not good. It's a 1/1 and you have to sacrifice it to give a creature not protection from black until end of turn. That just seems really strange. I do not like that card at all. Cabal Coffers. Wow, this is actually a fantastic card. So it's this is specifically for like commander and stuff. It's a land, pay 2 and tap it and add black to your mana pool for each swamp you control. This is insane in certain decks because you can exploit it with the number of swamps you have and just basically tap and untap this and have excessive amounts of mana, theoretically infinite. This is actually probably the most worthwhile card, so I mean definitely the most worthwhile card in terms of value. In terms of draft, not that great. It's going to be okay, but ideally you're going to be playing 1 or 2 things per turn anyway. You're not going to have a lot of card draw and things like that, so you're not going to be able to really exploit this. So a really cool card, but not necessarily one that I'd want in draft. Mortophobia, 1 and 2 black for an enchantment. Pay 1 and a black, discard a card from your hand, and remove target card in a graveyard from the game. Or pay 1 and a black, sacrifice it, and remove target card in a graveyard from the game. I don't like this card. Obviously, this is really in here to kind of mess up Threshold, which is powerful because there is a lot of Threshold in this set, but you're really investing a lot to do that. You are enabling Threshold on your own side if you're discarding cards from your hand, but really this is just a lot of investment to do something that ideally you just want to be a little more proactive and overpower instead of doing something like this. Stupefying Touch, enchant creature for 1 and a blue. When it comes into play, draw a card. Enchanted creatures' activated abilities can't be played. I don't like this card. This is pretty bad. Obviously, there are going to be instances where this is great. It's probably fine in sideboard for sure. If there's a problem creature that has some sort of really powerful activated ability, but in general, most of these abilities are going to be either EOT abilities or something that really isn't going to be that impactful because it's just so it's a pretty high investment. And so for that reason, Stupefying Touch, not really on my radar. Definitely if I was in blue, I'd want this as an option in sideboard, but not really outside of that. And then our rare is Reborn Hero, so 2 and a white for a 2/2 soldier. Attacking doesn't cause it to tap, basically vigilance, and it has threshold, so when it is put into a graveyard from play, you may pay 2 white. If you do, return it to play under your control. Certainly an interesting card. I actually really like this in terms of the art and just kind of the flavor of it, but I don't know that it's actually that good. Obviously it's fine, but it still is just a 2/2, so if it's just outpowered on the field, it doesn't really matter whether it comes back or not, it's still going to be outpowered on the field, so not as stoked about that one, while still an interesting card. I think it's definitely between the Faceless Butcher and Fiery Temper. The only reason I'm not so stoked about the Faceless Butcher is because it is really easy to kill. I mean, for instance, Fiery Temper kills it. But it is powerful. I mean, you can remove a creature that is giving you problems and ideally swing in for maybe a little bit of damage. That being said, Fiery Temper has a lot of madness like a lot of synergy with a lot of the discard thanks to the madness. And it's just solid removal no matter what. It also can hit players, so obviously there's some upside there if you're just trying to deal the last few points of damage. I think that this would be my pick, but I feel free to disagree with me because I do like Faceless Butcher. I can speak again as well. Both are really powerful, but please let me know in the comment section below whether you agree with me, disagree with me, or anything like that. Of course, please make sure to like and comment down below anyway if you did enjoy this video, and of course make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of our awesome content. But with that, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next Crack a Pack episode.